Hi everyone, my special guest today is Jerry Maginnis. Jerry has had a long and distinguished career in accounting. If I were to go over all of his titles and accomplishments, I simply wouldn't have enough time. So I'm going to post a link in the video description below detailing his entire career. But here are just a few highlights. Jerry was the managing partner at Kpmg's Philadelphia office. He was also a member of the board of trustees for the AICPA Foundation and former president of the Pennsylvania Institute of Certified Public Accountants. He retired in 2015, but still continues to give back by working as executive in residence at Rowen University. He also chairs the audit committee at Cohen and Steers and at Intest Corporation. Jerry, thank you so much for taking the time to do this video with me today. Are you sure you're retired? Because I think you're actually doing more in retirement than most normal people do working full time.
Well, thank you, Ming, for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you today. You know, indeed, my wife tells me that I'm failing retirement, but honestly, I feel like nowadays I'm working maybe half the hours I did back when I was at Kpmg. So it's actually working out pretty well from my perspective, and I do enjoy the various activities I'm involved with.
Wonderful. You know, as with my past guests, I wanted to ask you a few things that would be of interest to my accounting students. So let's get started. Now, sure. As I mentioned earlier, before you retired, you used to be the managing partner at Kpmg's Philadelphia office. So just to let my viewers know, Kpmg is one of the 4 largest accounting firms in the world. The hierarchy at Kpmg, like most public accounting firms, is as follows. You start off as a staff or associate. After 2 years, you become a senior. After another 2 or 3 years, you become a manager. In a few more years, you become a senior manager. Then, if you're exceptional, you become a director or a partner. Please note, it's extremely difficult to become a partner at a Big 4 CPA firm. Essentially, you're a part owner in the firm. Jerry was not only initially a partner, but as I mentioned earlier, he became the managing partner at Kpmg's Philadelphia office. The managing partner is a position above all the partners in the local office. Jerry was in this position for about 8 years, which was until his retirement. Now, Jerry, would you mind sharing with my students, what did you do on a day-to-day basis as managing partner?
Sure, happy to, Ming. So every day, every week, every month was sort of different, but I would broadly say that my activities fell into 4 areas. They either involved our people, our clients, the community, or the marketplace. From a people perspective, that was really my top priority. Our goal was to create an environment and a culture where our people felt really good about the experience they were having with Kpmg, that they were learning and growing professionally, and that it was a place to advance their careers, acknowledging your point that not everyone stays with the firm to that partner level. Many leave, so we wanted them when they left to really have a good recollection of their time with the firm and remain loyal to the firm. So a lot of what we did was kind of people focused. From a client perspective, we serve many clients from Fortune 500 companies to venture capital backed startups to family businesses to nonprofit and government entities in a variety of industry sectors. And I tried to get out and visit with our clients on a regular basis. I would meet with the CEO, the CFO, the board chair, audit committee chair to really take the temperature on our relationship, get some feedback, hopefully hear that we were serving them well, but if there were opportunities to enhance our service to them, it was great to get that feedback as well. From a community perspective, Kpmg, one of our core values was giving back to the communities where we lived and worked. So we invested a lot of dollars with local nonprofit organizations to help build the fabric of the community. It wasn't just dollars, though. Our people would also volunteer in various service activities for nonprofits across the region. And that was an area where I personally spent a fair amount of time. And finally, from a marketplace perspective, my goal was to make sure that every company in the Philadelphia area that was looking to engage a firm to provide audit, tax, or advisory services knew about our capabilities and would at least consider us when they were going through that process. So that was about building relationships, and I spent a lot of time in the marketplace trying to do that.
Now, getting to the partner position is hard enough. Thus, being a managing partner, which oversees all the partners, is an unbelievable accomplishment. So I wanted to ask you a 2-part question. First, for my students who wish to aspire to be a managing partner someday, what would you say are some of the keys to getting to this position? And secondly, to get to the partner position, you have to be driven and exceptional. How do you as managing partner manage so many talented partners, many of whom may perhaps have a strong personality?
Yeah, it's a very insightful question, Ming. And as you said, it was kind of a two-part question. So in response to the first part of it, I think just being versatile is a good thing for people to think about, right? So certainly you want to have strong technical skills, whether you're an auditor or a tax professional or an advisory professional, to really be a subject matter expert and stay abreast of developments and stay current in your field. So that technical expertise, really important. Another dimension would be client service, right? And people used to say to me, well, aren't technical skills and client service skills the same? I would say they're very different. You know, I knew a lot of people that were excellent technicians, but not as great with the client or responsive to the client. So those two elements are important. And then as you advance in your career, the ability to connect with people, develop people, mentor people is very important. And I think finally, having good communication skills at all levels is critical, whether you're dealing with a client, an internal matter, the marketplace. And finally, really important for any kind of leadership role, just a commitment to strong ethics, integrity, core values, and doing the right thing. In terms of the second part of your question, you're right. You know, we had about 1,000 people in our Philadelphia office and roughly 100 partners, and they came in kind of all different shapes and sizes and personality types. We had some, as a group, I think they were very talented, highly motivated, probably leaned towards the more aggressive side. Some of them were very opinionated, and we didn't always agree on everything. So one of the things I tried to do in my managing partner role was to be a good listener. Again, the communication skills are important, and people lose sight of the fact that communication is not just about talking, it's also about listening, and not just listening, but hearing, right? A lot of times my partners would provide me with some great ideas, good feedback, and I tried to operate from a mindset that I didn't have all the great ideas, right? I'd be sort of foolish if I didn't tap into the collective wisdom and experience of that group. So a big part of my job was building consensus and working in a collaborative fashion with my colleagues and my partners. One of the things I'm really proud of about my time in the role at Kpmg in Philadelphia is I think we did build a really strong sense of teamwork and partnership.
Besides talking about your career at Kpmg, I also asked you to come today to talk about a book that you recently wrote called Advice for a Successful Career in the Accounting Profession: How to Make Your Assets Greatly Exceed Your Liabilities. Now, quick disclaimer, I've never met Jerry before this video. I was not paid by him to promote his book. The only reason I want to bring attention to his book is because I read it, personally I read it, and I found it to be highly beneficial to both accounting students and accounting professionals. His book is well organized, concise, and easy to read. I read his book for about 30 minutes each day and finished it in 1 week. That's basically 3.5 hours total from start to finish. As I mentioned before, his book provides a lot of valuable advice to people who are still in school, as well as those who are currently working in the accounting profession. Honestly, this is the type of book I personally wish I read back when I was in college and when I first started working in public accounting. Jerry, I actually liked your book so much that I recommended it to other accounting faculty and to students that I mentor. I will also be encouraging future accounting students to read your book. I've actually already purchased a few copies as gifts to a couple of my former students that I mentor, and also who are currently working in public accounting. Having said that, would you mind sharing with my viewers a little bit about your book and what inspired you to write it?
Yes, sure, Ming, and thank you for your interest in my book and investing the time to read it, acquire it, read it, and maybe share it with others. That's greatly appreciated. So I think you might have mentioned in your opening that one of the things I'm doing in this next phase post KPMG is I have the opportunity to support the accounting program at a local university here in Southern New Jersey where I live called Rowen University. And I'm not on the faculty per se. I have this sort of unique role. They call it executive in residence. What I do in that role is I do get into the classroom with the students, typically 6 or 8 times a semester to give guest lectures. I speak on topics like ethics, current developments in accounting and auditing, and to the freshmen, careers in accounting. I also have been chairing the university's accounting advisory board for the last 5 years. So being in that environment, the students sort of figure out you're there. They'll approach you, they'll ask if they can sit and ask you some questions, get some advice and feedback. And I've done that quite a bit. I've met with dozens and dozens of students during my time at Rowen. And really the book, I think, evolved out of those conversations. One day, a couple of years ago, I met with a student and they were asking me about, the 150-hour requirement. And I thought to myself, gosh, this is about the 50th conversation I've had on that topic. I wonder if I can put some of this down on paper in a way that could be a resource more broadly than just the students here at Rowen. So that was really the catalyst for the book. Once I got into it, I realized that while I definitely wanted to write something that would be helpful to accounting students, perhaps I could add to it and also create some material that would be relevant and a good resource for early career professionals, which I define as folks in that first 4, 5, 6 years of their career. So that really became a big part of the book. It's organized, as you know, into 3 sections, and sections 2 and 3 are more for the early career professional and perhaps for folks even a little bit further along in their career.
Well, it's an excellent book. That's why you're the first author I've actually invited on my YouTube channel. Most of the time, my videos are on different accounting careers. This is a really, really beneficial book to both students and young professionals. Well, last question. I always ask my guests before they go if they could share with my students some tips for success, whether it be in work or life in general. I know you provide a bunch of strategies for success in your book. However, would you mind sharing today a few of your top tips for success?
Sure, Ming, I'd be happy to. And I mean, ironically, that's sort of what the book's about, advice for a successful career in the accounting profession. Throughout the book, I give dozens and dozens of tips, suggestions, advice, counsel on a variety of topics. But if I had to boil it down and summarize it into maybe a few guiding principles or themes, I would say number one, find a profession, a job that you really enjoy and that you're passionate about. Hopefully it's in accounting. There's a lot of great opportunities in accounting, but whatever field it's in, it's really important that you not only like what you do, but love what you do. It'll make you great. And if you're just sort of checking the box, showing up and collecting a paycheck, but you don't have that passion, you're not going to do your best work. So finding that right position that you really enjoy, find challenging, interesting, and I think is really important. The second thing I would say is be committed to lifelong learning. We're living in a world where the pace of change is increasing every day, technology, the knowledge base. So you really need to invest in staying current and lifelong learning. I would say also don't underestimate the power of relationships. Make that a core competency to develop and maintain relationships. They're 2 different things, really. I know a lot of people that make a lot of relationships, but they don't maintain them very well. So doing both is important. I think treating people consistently and how you would like to be treated, regardless of their rank in an organization, is really important. Some might say it's the golden rule, right? Treat others the way you would like to be treated. I've found that has benefited me tremendously in my career. And finally, I think, making work-life balance a priority, right? So work hard, but don't overcommit to work. Spend time with family, friends, the things you enjoy outside of work. It will definitely help keep your batteries charged.
Great tips. Jerry, thank you again for making the time to do this video with me today and for sharing your words of wisdom with my students.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure to be with you, Ming. Thanks again for having me, and thanks for all the great things you're doing for your students, both at Santa Monica and UCLA. It's apparent to me that you really go the extra mile to share some great ideas and tips with them.
To my viewers, if you plan on studying or working accounting, I highly recommend you buy Jerry's book, Advice for a Successful Career in the Accounting Profession: How to Make Your Assets Greatly Exceed Your Liabilities. It's available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and most bookstores.